Welcome back to another episode of Cledgy and Sports. I'm here with my guy, former NFL receiver, Josh Harper. How's it going, bro?
What up, Marco? Man, I'm doing good. It's Monday. Just got my workout in, protein shake. So I'm ready to go, man. What's going
That's
on? How you
good.
doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a while since the last time we recorded together and talked, man. How were your holidays?
It was good, man. I can't complain. I was with the family. We went to a Niner game. We were on the field, and my was getting to see my brother in action. Coach in action. So it was great. It's always good to be around family, and especially during the holiday season. So I had a ball. It's a great time.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I saw a picture of your son Juju with
Yeah.
the goat. That
With
was
the
clean.
GOAT, man. Yeah. Nah,
But that was
Jerry is
clean.
Jerry is crazy, man. Like he's full of energy. Like it really feels like he can go out there and play. It like he was just dancing the whole time. I kid you not, the whole pregame. He was dancing and interacting with all the fans. And I think he does that every game, if I'm not mistaken. He does that every game. So shout out to Jerry Rice, man, the GOAT. So that was pretty dope. That was a pretty cool moment for my son.
And it definitely has to be a cool moment to see your brother out there in action, like doing his thing, and then being able to come over and hang out and talk to you guys real briefly before pregame and stuff like that. That has to be dope.
Yeah, no, that's dope, man. I mean, we've been seeing him do it for a long time, and he was with Philly, and had a chance to watch him in action with Philly, had a chance to watch him win a Super Bowl, and then, but we all grew up Niner fans, so for him to be back, in his home roots, his home team, that we all grew up as a family watching and rooting for, that's a special moment. So, just to see him in action, and actually rooting for the team that he's coaching. No, that was special. That was definitely special to see him do that.
Well, and it's pretty special too to see that he's out there getting interviews for special team coordinators. Like that has to be a great feeling for him, you and the family. Definitely cool to see someone who has worked their way. Like you were saying, he's been with a couple of teams, working his
Mhm.
way up, getting interviews with the New York Giants. It's pretty cool to see a lot of a lot of Niner coaches in general. What are your thoughts on Steve Wilkes getting some interviews? Potentially the Niners losing a couple of other coaches.
Mhm.
Obviously, your brother might be lost, our special teams
Yeah.
assistant coach. Talking to me about like what are your thoughts on us losing those kind of coaches, like especially Steve Wilkes, your
Mhm.
brother, and other coaches? How does it affect the Niners moving forward, and not
Mhm.
necessarily in the playoffs?
Oh man, it's a factory. It's a place, and I don't look at it as a negative. I look at it as a positive. Like all the coaches, all the other coaches, young, aspiring, the coaches that are already proven in the NFL. I feel like they're gonna want to come coach for the Niners. So we may lose a coach, but there's a lot of other good coaches that may not have a job right now, or their staff just got fired that wants to come coach with the Niners because it's a factory. There's a lot of coaches, that's coming under that Shanahan tree that's succeeding or getting that first chance, that first shot to becoming the GM, the head coach, the offensive coordinator somewhere. And what better place to go than the Niners, right? If you want a chance to move up in your career, be promoted, the Niners is the spot to be right now. So I don't see it as a negative, man. Like, of course, it always sucks to see some of your core group go, but I think there's other good coaches, other great coaches out there that would want to come, be a part of the Niners organization, to take that next step. And I feel like their camaraderie is crazy in there. So I think outside coach will come in and they'll see how it is to be a Niner, a coach, a Niners coach, and just fit right in. So I don't see it as a negative at all.
Absolutely, definitely one of those organizations that a lot of people who have either been fired or like you said, like their coaching staff's gone.
Hmm.
They want to go somewhere with stability, somewhere they know where they're going to be for a couple of years, to get that opportunity one more time. For some of the older guys, like for example Steve Wilkes,
Yeah.
you wanted one more opportunity in the NFL. You don't really get many opportunities as a head coach. He had one. He got fired, went to Carolina, did his thing there, worked his way up as the interim head coach. Come over to us, and like for him, 1 year is already getting opportunities to interview. Like that's super big for in the
Yeah.
coaching industry, because like you don't get those opportunities much And the moment you do get those, you can't miss on those. Like, so for him taking the interviews, it has to be the right situation for him now, because he probably only has, unfortunately, for minority head coaches in the NFL, you only really get one true shot.
Right.
Like, the first shot you get, if you're a minority head coach, it's not really a true shot. It's usually with a team that is super bad and you have to do a complete rebuild, bringing a new GM and stuff like that. So you don't really have that opportunity because they're not given the time needed um, to have that success. For everyone who's tuned in on Twitter, on YouTube, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. Clutch Gene Sports. We also got J Harp TV. Make sure you guys go over there, subscribe there as well on YouTube. We will be doing this weekly on Mondays. We did see a couple of games, and I wanted to ask you your opinions on the super wild card weekend. So for the first couple of games we saw were the Browns and Texans and the Dolphins and Chiefs. What were your thoughts on both of those games before we even get into the Niners stuff? Like, what were your thoughts on those games? And because eventually we may have to play one of these teams, so it's
Yeah.
important to start looking at the teams now. So what were your thoughts on those teams?
Man, so what the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about those games, so the Texans and the Browns, that game, the first thing that comes to mind is the quarterback play. CJ Stroud is a baller. He's gonna be a quarterback that we hear about in this league for a long time, and you can see it. Barring any injuries, you never want to. Yeah, CJ Stroud is him, Nick. So you never want to see a quarterback get hurt or anything. You want to help. You want to make sure he stays healthy and things like that. But barring injuries, like I said, he's going to be a superstar. I think he's already on the brink of being a superstar quarterback, and it's only been 1 year. It's not just his stats. I'm not talking stats. If you actually watch him play, he makes everybody else around him better. He has a certain swag to him that everybody's going to want to play with him or play for him at some point in his career. And he was dominant that game. He was making big time throws. You know, they won by putting the ball in CJ Stroud's hands. And, on the defensive side of the ball, they came to play. Flacco has been one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. The past 4, 5, 6 weeks, he's been one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. But shout out to D'Amico, another 49ers quarterback or Niners coach that got poached. But shout out to D'Amico, he had that defense playing, man. They're flying around, they're getting to the quarterback, and what's crazy? They have draft picks coming up. Like they still have picks coming up to build on this team. We can't just say this team is just the most talented team, because we saw what the majority of this team did last year, right? They had a terrible record. I want to say what they had the first pick for a reason.
Yeah, second,
first or second pick for a reason. But when you add a quarterback like CJ Stroud, when you add a coach like D'Amico Ryans, and you add a couple more pieces here and there, you don't really see a turnover like this in 1 year. And so what those dudes are doing, shout out to D'Amico and shout out to CJ Stroud. What they're doing is special, and I think they're just going to keep building on it.
It was crazy because I know I was live with Jesse and we did a playoff quarterback ranking, and I had CJ Stroud ahead of Brock Purdy. And my reasoning was what I saw from CJ Stroud in college and what he did in the college football playoff against Georgia, which is, if you're going up against Georgia, that's an NFL like defense right there. So for me, I had him ahead, and he proved me right. Like in the sense of, I'm not saying it's a knock on Brock, but like, the eye manipulation he was having, like he was having his way, moving defenders with his eyes. And then when you look at people, when I say I want a quarterback that can extend plays, I don't want to. What I mean by that is I don't necessarily want a quarterback that takes off scrambling and can make the throw. I want a quarterback by extending a play, a slight step to the left, slide up. Those are extending plays by margins, and people don't understand in the NFL, it's literally that much of a step in the NFL. So for me, I thought that was very impressive. Defense, the player that doesn't get as much recognition for me is Will Anderson, the rookie defensive end who they traded back up to get at number 3. He struggled to start this season. He started getting going, injuries and stuff like that, from playing pretty damn good football. and then we saw the Mahomes led offense, or I should say, I'm gonna give their Chiefs defense, the Chiefs led defense,
Mm-hmm.
beat the Dolphins in a freezing game. What were your thoughts on the Chiefs defense? Packed up, literally. The way I saw it was they locked up, giving up one big play to Tyreek Hill's gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen no matter what. But besides
Yeah.
that, L'Jarius Sneed locked up Tyreek Hill. There was one time he hit him with a quick jam
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
put him on his knees. Like, talk
Man.
to me about that entire game, and I want to know that matchup. Like, what were you seeing from, at least from the TV angle so far from that matchup?
So from the TV angle, it looked like they were getting in Tyreek's face, and that's what you got to do if you have help over the top. So what I seen from the TV angle, I seen Ladarius Sneed getting in his face, getting his hands on Tyreek, and that help was over the top. So if the pass, like the Dolphins like to do those deep in cut routes, and those quick posts, skinny posts. If it's not there right away, it's a chance that Tyreek can get his head knocked off. Well, not in today's NFL, but still, you still have that in the back of your head, like, okay, this defensive player can knock my head off. So that's what I saw from the Chiefs defense. It looked like it worked. I'm not exactly sure what Tyreek ended up with. I know he ended up with that deep ball, but for the most part, they did a really good job on containing Tyreek Hill. And the Dolphins don't really this whole year they didn't really play good teams that well. So the Chiefs made it be known and made sure, like, okay, we're not going to be that first team that you beat in it's a statement game. Like, okay, we can play with these good teams, and on top of that, the cold weather. Miami's playing in 80-degree weather all year, right? So I don't know if it affected them, but I think it did. So, but that Chiefs defense came to play. Um, and yeah, it's Chiefs led defense, like you said. Yeah, that defense is looking really good. So I'm excited to see what they do moving forward, especially that defense.
Rasheed Rice, man, a rookie coming up that big in the playoffs. When an offense that's been struggling, they haven't had like a true playmaker, a true receiver that stepped up for them this year. Rasheed Rice has been that guy the last 7 weeks, roughly. What he did, in my opinion, in a cold game against a team that could put up points, knowing they needed to put up points, and I thought that was a good performance from him moving forward. We should see what he is.
Mhm.
But the craziest part, and I think the best performance of the weekend was the Packers packing up the Cowboys. They
Mhm.
completely dominated, and we know the 49ers will be playing the Packers now. So
Mhm.
this game, to me, once I started realizing, like, damn, the Packers are whooping on them, like, that means we're playing them. I started paying a little bit more close attention to, like, hey, what are they doing that's making them successful against a good Cowboys team? What did you see from the Cowboys and Packers game? And was this more of a Cowboys team not being ready and a Cowboys
Yeah.
team that isn't as good as we all thought? Or was this just the Packers team being really, really good?
Yeah. Before we go there, Rasheed Rice he's a dude, and I had him as my number one receiver coming out in the draft. I
Okay.
had him, yeah, I had him above um the one that went to
Jackson Smith.
Seattle, Jackson Smith. So my one and two was actually he was my two, sorry, but the Ravens receiver was my one, and Rasheed was my two. Rasheed's a baller, and I don't know what it was earlier in the year. He just wasn't getting playing time. And there's not that many good receivers over there in Kansas City for him not to be playing. So I don't know what it was, but he's starting to get more playing time, and you're starting to see what he's actually capable of doing with that playing time. So I'm excited that he's actually, getting the recognition, because I thought he was going to be a baller coming out of college. He has he runs hard with the ball after the catch too. So shout out to Rasheed, and back to that Packers Cowboys. Man, the Cowboy, oh my goodness, the Cowboys just looked off. They looked off from the jump. Like, I know the announcer kept saying it, like Dak and CD not on the same page. It really looked like they had something going on. Like, I don't know if it was something off the field, if it was just like CD wasn't ready for the moment. I mean, we've seen CD have some good playoff games, right? So I don't know if it was that, but the body language and just the whole vibe, you can just feel it from the TV. They look disconnected. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but the Packers, they were ready to play. Jordan Love was firing on all cylinders. A lot of those throws, receivers were wide open. So the offensive coordinator, he was dialing things up, and you still have to hit the right player. So Jordan Love was making the right reads. He also had some crazy throws that he was making. I wanted him to take his helmet off to see if that was A-Rod under there, because it looked a little A-Rodish. So I wouldn't give him too much credit right now, but it did. Some of his throws looked a little bit A-Rodish. But yeah, the Cowboys just didn't look ready. And when they started putting up points, it was too late. It was too late. That was a blowout. I don't care what the score said. They got dominated from start to finish. So yeah, Packers looked ready, and the Niners are going to have to bring their game.
It was crazy because me and my wife we were running around doing things yesterday, and then so I wasn't really watching on my phone. And then we stopped to get lunch. We're getting wings, and we're watching it. And the play that I got to see perfectly, and I'm glad I was there to watch it on the
Mhm.
big screen. It was a cover zero all out blitz
Mhm.
and back foot dime. Like, I mean, absolute, like, you don't see quarterbacks do that. Like, that's like, whoa, back foot on the money. Like, that's a very hard throw to make. And that was pinpoint, that one. And then the one where they were, I want to say they went for it on fourth down,
Mhm.
and he like slung it in there, tight window, touchdown. Like, some of the stuff he was doing, I'm like, damn, like, it's crazy because 2020 when he was drafted, I was joking about it. Like, I thought he was a really good quarterback. I liked
Mhm.
him out in that draft class, and I
Mhm.
talked about him on the show a couple of times on Grant's show. I'm talking about, I think he's the one. If you want a quarterback, you don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo, he's the one you get now, and you let sit for a year or two. And for me, I thought it was like at first, like I was just joking, like, oh, how mad would the 49er fan base be if we drafted Jordan Love?
Mhm.
Obviously, we had Jimmy Garoppolo take us to the Super Bowl in
Yeah.
2019. 2020 was the draft year. Like, we weren't that successful.
Mhm.
They traded away Buckner, so they had pick 13. I'm like, that's a perfect opportunity if you're going to take a quarterback who has first round talent. If they didn't do it, they ended up going Kinlaw, and then eventually down the road ended up trading up to number 3.
Mhm.
It's curious, like, how that would have ever played out under Kyle Shanahan. Like, would he have developed the same sitting behind A-Rod? Like, to me, like, that's the stuff, like,
Yeah.
that makes me wonder, like, I wonder how he, like, learned from A-Rod, 'cause obviously A-Rod is A-Rod, like, just picking
Mhm.
up tendencies. You wanna be around him. He's a winner. So that one was interesting, and then we had the last one of the night, which was a really good game. Great story. Jared Goff gets his revenge on the Rams and the Rams. The Lions get their first win in 30 plus years. Great game in my opinion. I thought that game was pretty even the entire way. What were your thoughts on the Lions picking up their first win in 30 years?
It was a good game. So that was probably the best game that up to this point in the playoffs. I feel like both offenses were on point. Um, the Rams defense didn't make a play when you needed them to make a play. But I feel like golf played well. That he has some ballers in Amon St. Brown and Laporta. Those are two ballers, two of the best at their positions already. And that offensive coordinator, man, he be dialing stuff. He dials stuff up like for sure, and he's probably gonna get a head coaching job somewhere. I can see in the near future. And then I love the head coach. He's
Dan Campbell?
aggressive. Dan Campbell. I love Dan Campbell. When he's talking about biting kneecaps, I can see it now. I can see it. Like, he's aggressive. He doesn't care what the analytics say. If he thinks they should go for it, they're gonna go for it. So I love that about him. I think that gives the full team confidence. Like, okay, he believes in us, so we're gonna believe in ourselves too. But all in all, it was a good game. Stafford played really good. Nuka Puka Nakua, he's a baller. He yeah, I seen a couple people say it. I said it early in the year. He gives me Anquan Bolden vibes. He's
Okay.
a beast. He's a beast, and he's going to be really good for a long time as well. But yeah, it was a great game, great storyline. I'm glad I sat down and watched that game because all these other games have been blowouts. But no, that was a pretty good game to watch.
And it's crazy because when I'm looking at everything, right, like that game was good, but it's like watching Jared Goff, like the confidence in him. Some of the throws he was making is like, whoa, you didn't make those throws when you're in LA. And that speaks to coaching, in my opinion. Like if you give a player the confidence that he needs, the confidence that you believe in him, he's gonna do what he did in college. Like these players, like when you get to the NFL, everyone could play. Like it's no question, everyone could play. It's just a matter about opportunity, confidence, and being in the right system. In my opinion, like those are the biggest things that make a player become what they are. And I felt like Jared Goff has been put in the right system in Detroit. He's been with the right coaching staff, and his confidence is through the roof. And he's talked about that. So I'm excited. I'm happy to see him get that win. First time Detroit fans have gone a win in 30 years in the playoffs. At home, even better. Just watching that game was cool. But this is a 49er podcast today. So we're going to be talking about the 49ers versus the Green Bay Packers. They're coming over to Santa Clara to play us at Levi Stadium. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go to Clutch Gene Sports on YouTube. Just hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed to Josh Harper TV, make sure you guys go to Josh Harper TV, subscribe there, hit the like button. Make sure you guys repost it as well. We really appreciate that. So the 49ers are hosting Jordan Love, who just whooped on Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, and now you have this ultimate young quarterback matchup. A matchup we could potentially be seeing at the quarterback position for years to come, right? You got Jordan Love, who's a young quarterback, Brock Purdy, who's a young quarterback. To me, this is going to be the NFL should be promoting this game the right way.
Yeah,
the young the future of the NFL, in my opinion, and necessarily not. It might not be the exact future of the NFL, like these quarterbacks going head to head every year, but it sure as hell looks like it because these two quarterbacks are playing really damn good football. What are your thoughts on the quarterback match? Like, talk to me about this quarter. What does this quarterback matchup mean for the NFL? What does it mean during this game, the playoffs? Because this, to me, this is a big story in terms of young quarterbacks. Oh, looks like we lost Jay Harp, so he'll be back, but he'll be back soon. But for now, I'll go solo. For me, I think this quarterback matchup is very important to the NFL. What it means is going forward, you're going to be seeing these two quarterbacks match up, and it's too early to say. It's too early to say Tom Brady, Peyton Manning back in the day, Josh Allen, Mahomes. We've seen that matchup a couple of times in the playoffs. So it is going to be an interesting one to see. We do got Jay Hart back in the house.
My bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
Problems.
You're good.
So the young quarterbacks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jordan Love and Brock Purdy, two of the best quarterbacks in the NFC right now, and they both just so happen to be young dudes. So yeah, like you said, this could be a matchup for the foreseeable future. We saw what Jordan Love has done, in his first playoff game. We've seen what Brock Purdy did to the Cowboys last year. He had a great game and great numbers. So yeah, I'm excited. Two young quarterbacks, 49ers, Packers. That this bringing old school vibes up. I'm just excited to see. I think the Niners have the best team. They have the better defense. I don't think the Packers defense is that good. They didn't put up the numbers in the regular season, but when you're in the playoffs, all that regular season stuff, it goes out the window. It's a new season. It's a new week, and it's win or go home. So yeah, I don't think the Packers defense is that good, but they played well enough against Dak and the Cowboys to send them home, send them to Cancun. So we're gonna see this. I think this matchup will depend on how well both quarterbacks do. But I have faith in Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, and the rest of the offense to produce. And I think it may be a close game, but I think the Niners, should dominate this game for sure.
So from watching Jordan Love the last 7 weeks, what do you got to do to stop him? Because like no teams have been able to stop. He 18-1 touchdown to interception ratio, put up numbers on the Cowboys, which is it's a pretty good defense. Like the Cowboys have been a solid defense all season long. Like you said, it is a new season once you get into the playoffs, but that's a good defense over there. Like it's not like it was like it's a trash defense. Like and he blew out a trash defense. He blew out a pretty damn good team what what do you got to do to not necessarily stop them? Because some of these quarterbacks you can't stop. Like
Yeah.
they're that good, you can't stop. But what do you got to do to slow them down? Because the pressure obviously didn't work.
Oh man, I know their pressure didn't work, but it has to be pressure. It has to be pressure within that front four. If Armstead is playing, so that's going to be a big boost to the Niners defensive line. So with Armstead, Hargrave, Bosa, and the other one that we got from
Chase Young.
Washington and Chase Young. If those four can create pressure, and allow the back end to have everybody back there with the linebackers and have seven back, if they can do that, I think it's gonna put a lot more pressure on Love than the Cowboys were able to do. So if we have to start blitzing and stuff, that's when I think Jordan Love has been doing good at identifying the blitz beaters and making the right decision, getting the ball out of his hands. If we can, like I said, if we can get pressure with the front four, I think that's the key to beating Jordan Love and making them uncomfortable, and the DBs being comfortable knowing that, okay, I can sit on this route because I have help over the top, or I can be aggressive on this route, and things like that. So I think the key is going to be Chase Young, Hargrave, Armstead, and Bosa. That's the key to making Jordan Love feel uncomfortable.
And it's for me, I think Jordan Love, it's one of those quarterbacks where you might make him feel uncomfortable for a few plays. There's a few times where he was like, okay, like off a little bit, but he comes back and he has this energy where it's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of hard to make those kind of quarterbacks uncomfortable because
Mhm.
you make them feel uncomfortable, and the next thing you know, they hit you with the big play, and it's like, all right, they're back to what they were. So for him, I think the talent is insane. Like you could pressure him, but he's throwing off his back foot because of his arm talent. On the run, he's making throws. Like the talent he has makes him a lot harder to, in my opinion, to play against as a defense because he could scramble, but it's a different kind of scramble. He's scrambling to throw, and
Yeah.
that's where in the past the Niners have gotten beaten. For example, Russell Wilson scrambling, doing all this scramble stuff in the backfield, ends up getting you on a 3rd and 10, deep throw to someone and stuff like that. Like that's the kind of things that Jordan Love could do to you. I'm not saying he is going to do it, but it's definitely possible. Now, he does have a lot of young weapons, a lot of young receivers, and I think that's where it benefits the 49ers secondary and defense to slow Jordan Love down because you start throwing things at the young secondary they haven't seen before. For example, different coverages, different looks, and how do they respond? I think that's the biggest thing is how do those players respond to go with Jordan Love? For me, it's a question I hate to ask. I hate asking it. If you had to choose one of these two quarterbacks for the next couple of years, I have to ask it because it's a young quarterback thing, bro. I have to ask it. I don't like doing it, but who would you take if you had to choose? You could pass it. You could pass the question. I get it if you pass it. Who would you choose though?
I mean, the Niner fans are going to be on my ass anyway. I do not care what they say, whatever. I like Jordan Love's intangibles. Like he has a strong arm. He makes these crazy throws. He, he's leading a young team. He doesn't have okay, he has Aaron Jones over there. He's a really good running back. He's not Christian McCaffrey. He has all these other young receivers, and he's doing it right. No disrespect to Purdy, no disrespect at all. Purdy is doing a phenomenal job with what he has to work with. Like he showed us he can throw it deep. He doesn't need the strongest arm. He's throwing with anticipation. But at the end of the day, it's like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer a quarterback that who's like throwing with anticipation and getting it there, which isn't a bad thing, or do you want a quarterback, or what do you want to watch a quarterback on your team that is making these throws, these crazy throws, like A-Rodish. I hate to keep saying that, but it's A-Rodish.
It is.
Throwing off the back foot. And he's also throwing with anticipation too. Like, don't get me wrong, he's not just not throwing the ball with anticipation. Like he's an overall good quarterback, and he's been that way since what, week 5, 6, something. He's been playing out of his mind, and they have similar stats. And even with him starting pretty slow, they have similar stats. So it's about what do you prefer. Now we have Brock Purdy. I'm happy, So, but to answer the question, I would go Jordan Love.
And it was so I've been trying to explain to people in the 49ers Twitter and stuff like that. Like when you're being as Brock Purdy, right? When you're being compared, and when we're comparing these quarterbacks to players that are playing like top 10 quarterbacks in the league, it's not a knock. Like
it's not a knock.
It's not like because when I ranked CJ Stroud over and like, oh, you're just a Brock kid. No, bro, CJ Stroud has played like a top 7 quarterback all season, and we're just gonna not like use that and stuff like that. Jordan Love since week 10, I believe since week 10, his touchdown to interception ratio was 18-1. Put up numbers. They went like 6-1 or something like that. Like you don't see young quarterbacks do. And we got to remember this is his first legit year starting. Like it's not like he's some seasoned vet with a lot of young weapons. Like it's different if you have a seasoned vet with a lot of young weapons, kind of knows where he wants to go with the ball and stuff like that. Like that's different. Jordan Love, it's this first time in action, first time in the playoffs. So for me, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like it's not a disrespect to Brock. Brock's a hell of a quarterback.
Yeah.
He's able to do everything you want a quarterback do. But then when you watch Jordan Love and you watch Brock Purdy, we're looking at them and we're like, who has the higher? Like right now, their floor is probably even. Like it might be Brock's floor might be higher, to be honest with you. It might be higher. But the ceiling of Jordan Love is insane. Like when you see him make some of these throws and you keep saying A-Rod-ish, you're not wrong. Some of these throws are like, damn, only 5 quarterbacks in the league can make that throw. Like, and he's making throws. It's like, okay, if I had to choose someone for the next 5 to 10 years, and I'm knowing they're both healthy and everything, I'm going Jordan Love because if I put a team around him, the young weapons, if they all develop, that team's going to be dangerous. Like,
we haven't heard of his weapons until this year, right? I couldn't name any of his weapons last year. Besides Christian Watson, but he didn't do nothing this year. So all his weapons, they're all
rookies.
Yeah, they're all young rookies or first year players. Like again, it's not a knock to Burt. It's not a knock to Brock, but we've heard of his weapons before. We've seen what Jimmy G did with those weapons, and I'm not comparing those two because Brock is by far better than Jimmy G. So Niner fans, don't even try to come for me right now. But Jordan Love is making what he's doing with his weapons is beyond me. So yeah, I would definitely go. I'm agreeing with you. I'll go Jordan Love for sure.
And I hate having asked that question, but it's a question that has to be asked. Like it's young quarterbacks. It's a good conversation on the quarterback position. It's not necessarily a knock and anything. Don't want anyone to take it that way. It's a good conversation just to have. And actually, in my opinion, I think it's praise to Brock Purdy. Like when you don't have that kind of the talent one player has, and you're playing as good as them, like that speaks volumes. So the quarterback position might be like, if you don't have the talent and you're playing up there with the most talented quarterbacks, that speaks volumes on you. And it should be, in my opinion, I think it's more of a praise than anything than a knock. So
they're gonna take it as a knock.
Of course, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Like people in the NFL and community, like they're not going to look at it as a disrespect because they know it's two great players being compared. It's not like we're comparing Brock Purdy to freaking Baker Mayfield. Like that's disrespectful. You know what I mean? But the 49ers versus the thing that I noticed between the Packers offense against the Dallas Cowboys defense was Matt LaFleur. He found the weak spot, and it's always been a weak spot for the Dallas Cowboys. Their linebackers, trash. Like in the run game, it was trash. Like I hate calling players. I'm not calling the players trash, but when you have so many injuries, I felt like Dan Quinn did a terrible job, and not the linebackers. Dan Quinn did a terrible job of keeping them clean, having them in the right positions. There was times where simple plays. It wasn't even like anything crazy. Simple plays. Offensive line's blocking down a duo. Next thing you know, he gets up to, didn't even get up to the linebacker. The linebacker went the wrong way, like completely the wrong way. And that happened at least 6-7 times. Aaron Jones was breaking on a long run. So for me, I think that was the biggest thing. And the thing is the Niners, they don't have linebackers that are going to do that. They have linebackers that are going to fill those gaps. So it's going to be a little bit different. So for me, I'm excited for Niners offense, Niners defense versus their offense because that's a high-powered offense. So if you go back to week 10, since week 10, looking at the numbers, let me go ahead and pull it up. I have a bookmark that I've saw some stats on.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers offense since week 10, they're number 3 in DVOA, number 4 in EPA per play. EPA is a offensive stat that shows how efficient teams are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a quarterback stat. I hate people using it as a quarterback stat. It is
Mm-hmm.
not a quarterback stat. Let's get that right.
I see that a lot.
It's like, it blows my mind. Like, there's no one. I talk to scouts. Hey, what's EPA? What does EPA mean to you? How good an offense is really? Is not. Oh, it's not the quarterback. No. Okay, cool. Thanks. It's like, it's to me, when I see people using it as a quarterback stat, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's give the quarterback all the love, not necessarily anyone else. And they're number 4 in success rate. So their
Yeah.
offense is playing like a top 5 offense. So you're gonna have to have your defense have to be on point. We talked about that earlier. You said getting pressure home. I think the biggest thing is the linebackers stopping the run. And I hate saying just stop the run, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, look, you can say that about every game, stop the run.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is don't let Jordan Love get to play action, because he was cooking in play action. He sees the field a lot better. So for me, it's more of a don't let Jordan Love to get to play action. Don't let Matt LaFleur get to play action, because once they get to play action, they're able to start picking defenses apart. And that's been a big key for them. So it is stop the run, but for me, it's more don't let the team get to play action, because the moment they get to play action, their young receivers are able to really good route runners over there. Jaden Reed, Hicks, Watson is a speed threat down the field. But I think that's where you get the big plays, and that's where you get the very efficient offense, is establishing the run and stuff like that. And same thing the Niners like to do. So that's kind of where I see the defense versus their offense. How do you see their defense versus our offense? Because their defense isn't that really throughout the whole season hasn't been good. So how do you see their defense versus our offense?
Right. So I think it's going to start with Christian McCaffrey. But if I were them, I would make it a point to stop Christian McCaffrey. But easier said than done. So it's going to start with Christian McCaffrey. He's going to get the ball rolling. He's going to, get that play action started, and once that play action gets started, and Brock Purdy's gonna, he's gonna sling it, he's gonna spread the ball around, and he's gonna do what he does best as well. So I think this Niners offense and Kyle is gonna give this defense fits. I think in order for the Packers to even be in this game, I think it's gonna be a high scoring game if the Packers want to make it a game. I don't think this defense could play with the Niners. The Niners present a different challenge than what the Cowboys do. I know the Cowboys averaged the most points in the year. What was it, 37? But we also got to remember that defense was putting up points as well. So it wasn't just Dak and the offense, right? So I think I think the Niners offense and Kyle present a different
it's hella funny. I
gotta
stop you.
Go ahead.
It's hella funny. So DeRon Bland, right? He grew up with him. He picked 6 machine, right?
Yeah.
And we're watching the game, and after the touchdown by Jordan Love, the crazy one. It's funny that you said the defense was scoring. Yeah. My wife goes, she's like, man, Dak was on the field right before he threw his pick 6. She goes, I think the Dallas Cowboys should put their defense in. Maybe DeRon will score one time. And I just started dying. I was dying. I was like,
it'd be like that.
I was hella laughing. I was like, you can't do that. That's hella funny. I was like, she obviously was joking, but she was like, maybe your guy DeRon will score one time. And so I had to throw that one out there because
man, look. I want to know what was their points per game. What was the defense's points per game? Like, what did they score on their own? Because they were, or if they didn't score, they were putting the Dallas in a great position to score. The strip stacks and forced fumbles, interceptions. They were putting Dallas in great. Now the offense did play really good this whole year, but the defense had a lot to do with it. So,
just alone on one player, they had he had 5 touchdowns, so 5 times 7, divide that by 17. Just off one player, they got 2 points from one player per game. And I'm sure there's other defensive touchdowns. So it's like, really, how many points was that offense scoring per game?
I really want to know. So yeah, but anyway, like this Niners offense is going to present a different challenge. Kyle is a mastermind with manipulating defenses. working on the linebackers. I think that this Packers linebacking core is a bit better than the Cowboys linebacking core, but they are young. So you got Quay Walker and a few others. I forget their names. But they're a bit younger. But again, the Niners, Kyle, they're going to be ready. They had a week to prepare, and yeah, it presents a different challenge. I think the Niners they're going to score in the high 20s, maybe 30, and so I think no 30. They'll score about 30 points. Again, I don't think this Green Bay defense is going to be ready for Kyle and the offense.
Absolutely, and when you look at the Green Bay defense, like you said, you mentioned a couple of Quay Walker.
Mhm.
Quay Walker is a guy who he plays really fast, energetic,
Mhm.
but he gets himself out of position a lot of times.
Mhm.
And I think Kyle pinpoints that, and he finds that player. Okay, who is over aggressive? Because
Yeah.
that's the player I'm gonna use you as a little chess piece. I'm
Mhm.
gonna make you over pursue here. But guess what? Where you just ran from, that's where I'm throwing to.
Mhm.
So Quay Walker is going to be that guy that Kyle Shanahan uses as a chess piece. Quay Walker. They also have I believe it's
Campbell.
Devondre Campbell, who's
Mhm.
playing alongside him. Um,
He's
they have
old. He's a vet.
a vet,
Yeah.
so he's not as great in coverage. But then on the D line, you also have Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, so they could get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
Kenny Clark, they could get after the quarterback.
I
Now
wonder why they didn't during the season.
I think it also has to do with their defensive coordinator. I don't think the
Right.
defensive coordinator put them in great position
Right.
throughout the season, and now it's kind of like, okay, let's put them in. Let's do the simple stuff. Stop the
Right.
run, so we get after the quarterback, and
Mm.
that's what they did, at least against the Cowboys. So kind of confusing why their defense coordinator Joe Barry, I believe that's their defensive coordinator over there,
Mhm.
why he did everything how he did it in the regular season, because they look much different yesterday against the Cowboys. So I'm
Definitely.
curious to see how they come out. But the thing is the NFL gave Kyle Shanahan a few weeks to prepare, 2 weeks essentially to prepare for the Packers, the Cowboys, the Rams, and the Lions.
Yeah.
Any team he was playing, pretty sure he did what he normally does: take a day to watch film on that defense, each team,
Yeah.
and he's already watched the Green Bay Packers. Right now, what he's doing now is drawing up his first 15 plays. Well, these are our
Yeah.
first 15 plays of the week of the game. And normally, when you give Kyle that much time, or an offensive guru that much time,
Mhm.
first drive of the game is a touchdown. Just it as long as the offense executes, it's usually going to be a touchdown drive.
Yeah.
I do agree with. I think this game's going to be high scoring. Now,
Mhm.
if it is high scoring, does that mean does that worry you for our defense playing against good offenses like later in the playoffs? Like, what does that mean if it is a high scoring game? Is it like, oh shit, I'm worried, because you're gonna have
Mhm.
fans who are like, oh my god, our defense sucks in the playoffs. Our defense is falling apart. What does
Mhm.
that mean? You're going up against a top 5 offense. If the defense gives up 30, but our offense scores 38, what does
Yeah.
that mean for our defense and as a team as whole?
Yeah, that's always going to be concerning when if your defense gives up 30 points. But how do they give up that 30? That's what would be more concerning. How do they give up that 30? Is it like they're just driving, like third down, hit, like we just can't stop them? Or is it like a big play here or there, a short field? I mean, that wouldn't be as concerning. But if the Packers are just coming out firing on all cylinders and that's how they get to 30, then I'm concerned. Then I'm like, okay, what's going on? What happens when we have to play another good offense in the NFC? That
The
might be
next best,
it. That might,
the next bet, it's interesting. The Niners road to the Super Bowl is essentially looking pretty nice. The next explosive offense would be the Lions, but
so
even then,
I
Jared
think,
Goff, it's like,
can we make a case that they're playing the next best team in the
yeah,
Packers?
I think they're the second best team,
They
the
could be the
offense at
second best
least.
team. So yeah, I mean, if the Packers come out and score 30, I mean the Lions offense is good. Don't get me wrong, they're good. And they have a star on St. Brown, and I think Laporta is a star as well. Or if not, he will be. But yeah, if the Packers come out and score 30, I'm not as concerned because I don't see any other offense that's just crazy good, right? The Lions, as good as their offense looks, or as good as they are, they only scored what 20 20 what was it
25 points a game, I think.
on the Rams? No, what did they score on the
Oh,
Rams?
22. No, 24. 24.
24 points on the Rams. And I don't see anything special about the Rams defense. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about any other offense moving forward. But I think this Packers might have the second best offense in the NFC, still in the playoffs.
I agree with you, and it's crazy because it's a Kyle Shanahan like offense.
Mm-hmm.
Matt LaFleur is from that Kyle Shanahan system,
Yeah.
so you're definitely seeing two buddies go up against each other. Now Kyle owns them in the playoffs so far, 2-0. But looking at everything, it's cool to see. If you're in YouTube or you're on Twitter, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, go to Josh Harp TV. Make sure you guys subscribe to Josh Harper's channel as well. Former NFL player, knows what he's talking about. He loves to answer questions. He's not one of those guys who's not going to answer a question.
Right.
If you drop it in the chat, he will answer it. He's a very friendly guy, so make sure you guys drop comments as well. For me, I think the biggest thing is getting Brock comfortable early. Yeah. Give him a couple easy throws, and I don't mean that in a slight, but we've seen quarterbacks not look comfortable, right? Like for example, Dak Prescott, a good quarterback, his coach failed him.
Yeah,
you were trying to everything was trying to go deep. Give him a couple of completions short. You get him in a groove. Okay, this is how the game's gonna go. Give Brock Purdy in the groove, whether it's a quick slant to Brandon Ayuk, one of the best receivers in the NFL. Get him going, play action, get him rolling boot action, kind of things. And I think Kyle will. It's kind of weird to say, saying oh, do this. Kyle knows what he's doing, obviously, but for me, it's get your young quarterback comfortable. Now, he obviously has NFL playoff reps, but he's still a young quarterback in terms of playoff games.
Yeah.
So for me, I agree with you. Our offense versus their defense is going to be, they need to stop the run. And if you can't stop the run, you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
It's playing it is, but I definitely think this is definitely going to be a fun matchup to watch at the receiver and cornerback spot. I think Jair Alexander is going to shadow Brandon Ayuk, and that's a matchup. I want you to break down that matchup. How does that play out, and how does that work? Because obviously, you as a former receiver, you kind of understand what an elite corner is going to try to do to you. So what's going to happen, and how do you see that playing out?
So first of all, are they going to play man? They do need to stop the run, and with that, I don't think playing man is the answer to stopping Christian McCaffrey. So are they going to play man first of all? And with Ayuk versus what is it, Alexander?
Yeah, Jair.
I think Kyle does a great job of manipulating the whole defense. So I don't really think that they're going to play man too much on the Niners. So
okay, and it makes sense because yesterday they did play a lot of zone. They played a lot of too high, trying to disguise things, and they had a couple of times I did notice them. They look like they're going to go into a cover 4, like a kind of a nice zone. Yeah. They end up dropping one of the Darnell Savage real quick. Him being a robber kind of like player. So I thought that stuff was interesting. I'm like, whoa, they didn't do that in the regular season. Like it was more of a let's disguise our coverage like crazy. We're going to show too high. We're going to get to where we need to be. And essentially, you're trying a zone against Dak normally doesn't work. Like it normally does because Dak is very smart. But they were disguising coverages like no other. Like that was incredible disguise on coverages from them. So do they do the same thing? A quarterback with Brock? Like what would you think?
So if say they do run man, and it's just Jair and Ayuk 1-on-1 on an island. I still like Ayuk's chances. Like, okay, don't get me wrong. I think Jair is one of the best coverage corners, man-to-man coverage corners in the NFL, right? But I also think that Ayuk is one of the best route runners in the NFL. So me as a fan, not as a Niner fan, but me as a football fan, I would want to see that. I want to see that matchup. At least give me like 10 to 15 reps one-on-one straight man, which is a lot in the NFL game. Straight man, Ayuk versus Alexander. Let me see that. But I just think that it's too much. If you focus solely like Jair versus Ayuk, Kyle will pick you apart in so many other ways that like Kittle. Don't forget Kittle. So if you're running man, most likely you have Kittle manned up too, right? Most likely, Kyle would have, McCaffrey go out into the slot and, just, 22 personnel, maybe Juice back there too. Like there's so many different ways that Kyle could, use his mismatches. If you go man and you say like, okay, Jair, you go lock down Brandon Ayuk. It's too many other weapons on the field. So me as a fan, I want to see it, but I doubt that it will happen much in that game.
See, and this is why y'all gotta subscribe and share this with your friends and your mom and grandma and everything, because that is the kind of football knowledge that I love to hear, right? Like explaining, like, okay, if you go man 15 times, well, you're also putting everyone else in a terrible situation.
Yes.
And for the Niners, it's one of those, they're the team you can't go man against. Like you could go man against the Cowboys because you have CD over there. You do have Cooks, who's a phenomenal receiver, but no longer what he used to be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But when you look at what they're doing, it's like they don't have the weapons of a George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. They don't have that. So for the 49ers, you can't go man. But I think they might have to disguise it, and every once in a while, at least 10 times have to go. You cannot go 100% zone against Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. Like I felt like for them, so I'm excited to see that matchup. But if they do go zone, I do think it does favor the 49ers a lot because Brock Purdy picks apart zone. He knows where he wants to go with the ball. He understands Kyle's offense like the back of his hand. Kyle's going to put him in great situations against zone. So I'm excited to see the 49ers be able to pick them apart offensively because their defense, in my opinion, isn't great. Now they're very aggressive. Darnell Savage is a very aggressive player. I think for me in the secondary, the player I'm going to target if I'm Kyle Shanahan, and I know my wife's going to love this when I say this because of the interview he had recently with Jonathan Owens, Simone Biles' husband. He's, in my opinion, I don't think he's that great in coverage. Like great run defender, I don't think he's great in coverage. That's
I didn't know he started.
Yeah, he's a starter over there, and it's funny because did you hear that the episode where he was on with was it the Pivot? I think.
Yeah.
Ryan
Clark.
They were asking him how they met.
Biles. Yeah.
I'm like, bro, don't play dumb, bro. You everyone use Simone Biles. Like, don't play dumb. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, I don't watch it. That's good. I knew who she was. So
yeah, I'm like, I don't like. Everyone knew who she was. Like, she's like. So I thought my wife thought that was hilarious. So she definitely gonna laugh when I say he's gonna get picked apart. So for me, I think that's definitely gonna be something Kyle pinpoints. Like I said, remember Quay Walker, right? You're gonna pinpoint him and at the linebacker spot. I think Jonathan Owens is a guy in the secondary who can I put in a tough spot to cover someone like George Kittle, cover someone like a Deebo Samuel. But we haven't even talked about. We talked a little bit about Brandon Ayuk on our offense. We haven't talked about Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel turns into a different player in the playoffs. Like this is exactly the kind of player Deebo is. He's a playoff player. What I mean by that is Deebo's ability, the yards after the catch, lining up in the backfield, taking handoffs on the jet sweeps and stuff like that. Talk to me about Deebo's major role in a game like this where you have to show up and punch the opponent literally you got to punch them in the mouth and let them know what kind of game it's going to be to start. Talk to me about Deebo.
Deebo is a jack of all trades. Whatever you need from Deebo, he's able to do it. So he's going to get reverses. He's going to get end arounds. He's going to line up in the backfield while McCaffrey goes to the slot. Like they're interchangeable like that. He's going to get a few handoffs this game. He's able to run routes. He's not the route runner that Ayuk is, but he's able to run routes. He's able to take a screen pass to the house. So he's a jack of all trades. I think he's okay, never mind. There's too many good. I was gonna say I think he's the best offensive player on the Niners, but he's not. We got McCaffrey. I keep forgetting, but I think behind McCaffrey, I think he's the best all around offensive player. Like when he gets the ball in his hands, he's not the fastest dude, but we think it could go all the way anytime he touches the ball. So again, he's gonna get his touches in many different types of ways, and he's gonna have a big game. Like you said. Playoff Deebo is different, but Deebo's been different ever since the Eagles game. Like that's when he turned it around and he just turned into this different animal that we didn't see all year, but we're starting to see it when it matters the most. So Debo's going to get his touches in all types of ways, in the backfield, quick screens, end arounds. And who knows? Kyle is a genius. He may have a end around pass that Debo throws to Ayuk or Kittle, something like that. So again, he's a jack of all trades. He's gonna get his. Debo's gonna get his for sure.
Yeah, Debo the kind of player who, as the younger kids say, stands on business, right? Standing on business. He talked his talk to the Eagles during the offseason. He told James Bradbury, "You're trash." Darius Slay, "You're aged." He literally like talked his talk, right? You don't see players like you see players talk their talk, but you don't necessarily see players back their talk up, right? Like it's normally like they talk the talk, and then that game comes and it's a let up game for him. Nah, for Debo, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, 22 rushing yards. Like he did what he said he was gonna do. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna whip their ass. Like did what he had to do. And that's the kind of stuff I like. Like so for him, like you said, he's that all around player. I'm excited to see him go up against their defense. I'm interested because the Niners are favored by 10 points, and the over is 50.5. Do you think we beat them by 10 plus points, or what would, if you had to give a score prediction, what would you say would be the score prediction?
So again, I think the Niners offense is going to score. They're going to score points. Now, if the Niners defense gives up a few touchdowns, a few big plays, they allow the Packers to score 20 plus, then I think that over is going to hit. If I'm a betting man. I'll probably go over on that 50. If the over is 50, I'm getting the over, because again, the Packers offense is young, but they're pretty good. The Packers defense, I don't think is that good, and I think the Niners will score around 30 points a game. So I can see why I can see why the over is 50, but I'm taking that over. I'm taking that over.
I'm hammering the over too, because
easy.
Looking at that, like, okay, even if the Niners do put up 30, right? Let's say if they put up 30, at some point the Packers are going to be playing catch up. It means a lot more passing. They got to score.
Yeah.
So at that point, your defense might give up a little more points than they normally would, but they're also in deeper coverages. Everything's soft coverage. They're allowing things to happen underneath. So for them, you might see that happen because they're already up so big. You don't want to give up that deep shot that puts the team back in the game. So I think they're hammering the over. I don't know about the 10 points though.
I don't know.
That's a big spread.
If the Niners do win by 10 points, the over is not going to hit 100%. I don't think if it's under, I think if they do win by 10 points, I can see it being like 30 to 14 or something like that. 30 to 17. Makes sense.
But I don't like, the thing is, like 10 points in a playoff game, like
that's a lot.
Like, you know, we don't see blowouts, though.
But you say that, and then we just look at all the games that just happened this week. Except for one, right?
NFL, all the people putting the betting lines out, they're like, yeah, we just saw teams get their asses kicked. Yeah. Niners are about to whip some ass. So, interesting. Matt LaFleur versus Kyle Shanahan. What do you think of that coaching matchup? Obviously, they're friends. They were in Washington and stuff like that. They coach together. They hang out every once in a while together. Obviously, Kyle's dominated them 2-0 in the playoffs. What does that mean for the NFL, having young coaches who are offensive minds with young quarterbacks going to be going head to head? The storyline's cool. Obviously, the storylines, you're going to hear it on the national broadcast like 3 times. They were together in Washington.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the coaching matchup?
I mean, it makes it that much more important, more intense. Like, I know if I'm going against my friend and he's beating me 2-3 times in the playoffs, I'm doing everything in my power to not make that 2 times or 3 times?
2 times in the playoffs.
I'm doing that everything in my power to not go 0-3 against one of my good friends. So I know he's going, and it's great for the NFL. It's great too. You got 2 young coaches for 2 historic franchises, and 2 really good head coaches, offensive minded. So it's great for the NFL. But personally, like Matt LaFleur is going to do anything and everything in his power to not make himself go 0-3 versus his friend, in the playoffs. It's just bragging rights, right? Come on, that Kyle Shanahan is throwing subliminals to him when they're together. Like, it's something crazy, right? So it depending on how good of a friends they are, he's gonna be ready, man. He's gonna be ready, but I don't think his team is good enough for him to not go 0-3 versus Kyle in the playoffs. But it is a good storyline for the NFL, and for everybody who talks sports, really, like that's good. What you got the Packers franchise, you got the Niners franchise, historic, right? You got LaFleur, you got Kyle, good friends, came up together. Washington Redskins, you know, Kyle's 2-0 versus him in the playoffs, and I think the two games were the Packers favorite? Did they have a better team?
I
I know
don't I
one of
don't
them
think
for
so.
sure,
One of them they were. I think the one where we went to. I think we had to go to Green Bay. I
and
think
it was
that's the one
like,
they were favored.
yeah, low scoring game. Gold hit
Yeah,
the field goal to win it. That
I
one,
think that's the one they were
yeah.
favored. I think the one when they came to us. I think, or did we go to them twice?
I don't know, but I know the Packers team was a bit better. Those last two games they had A-Rod, they had Devontae Adams, those guys. So, um, but this time around, Kyle has a better team, and it's like easily seen like he has the better team. So it's a little different, and I think he's going to go on 3. But it is good for the NFL and for everybody who talks sports.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be a fun game. Got to get your score prediction on that game, and then definitely want to hear your score predictions on the later games
Yes.
today: Tampa Bay versus Philly, and Buffalo versus Pitt. Before we get out of here, but for the 49ers score, what's your score prediction? And give me, if you had to give a player, who's going to be that player of the game, kind of like performance.
So we got 33 because I think it's going to go over. I think it's going to be 33-24
Okay, so
Niners.
they cover the spread, but they don't
Mhm.
cover the over, but they don't cover
Yeah,
the spread,
they don't cover the spread.
and that's where they're going to get a lot of people on.
Yeah.
Um,
So
I
33-24 Niners.
I could see that score. I could see the Niners putting up 34 points,
Hmm.
and I think they win by a touchdown. I think they 34-27,
I like that.
only because the Packers late in the game, Packers have to score a touchdown to
Hmm.
fight. And I think more so not necessarily late in the game, but in the fourth quarter, and then the defense locks up late in the game, gets a key sack from a guy like Nick Bosa or Chase Young.
Yeah.
Player of the game, I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go Charvarius Ward,
I was
and
just thinking that too.
I'm gonna go Charvarius Ward because he's gonna be up against a lot of young corners who have blazing speed. The 49ers like to do a little bit of different things with him. I think Charvarius Ward is gonna have a nice game against some young rookies.
Yeah. So for me, I'm gonna go Christian McCaffrey. I think he rushes for 120 and ends up with 2 touchdowns. Has about 4 catches for about 40 or 50 yards. I think Christian McCaffrey is gonna be the player of the game for the Niners.
And that's a great player to always choose. Christian
Yeah,
McCaffrey is almost
easy.
he's that.
Yeah.
If you're tuned in to Clutch Gene Sports or Josh Harp TV, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button to both channels. We'll be going live every Monday to talk 49er football, NFL in general, and definitely going to be talking NFL draft, stuff like that. So make sure you guys are hit that subscribe button. You guys are tuned in. Now we do have a couple of games later today to fill out the NFL playoff bracket. We do have teams like the Buffalo Bills versus Pittsburgh Steelers, which was postponed
Mhm.
to today, and then we also have the Tampa Bay Bucks versus the Eagles. What are your thoughts on the Bills versus Steelers game? Obviously, most likely will be one-sided, but
Mhm.
the weather plays a big factor into this game now. So that's a lot of people were like at first Bills by 20, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now it's like, whoa, it's this weather. It changes the game. What are your thoughts on that game first?
So if the weather is still going to be pretty bad, snowing type, feel nasty, I think the game will be closer. I think the Bills still end up winning, but I think the game will be closer. I would say like a low scoring 20-17 type of game. I think the bad weather fits the Steelers better. I think they run in between the tackles better than what the Bills can do. I know they have Josh Allen and Cook had a really good year this year, but I think the Steelers are still more fit to play with bad weather. If the weather's not, and the field isn't as bad, I can see the Bills covering that 10-point spread. I think it's 10. I think the Bills could cover that 10-point spread and kind of run away with this game like 21-10, 24-10, something like that. Um, But I think the weather's going to be bad, so I'm going to say my score prediction 20-17 Bills.
Which makes sense, especially snow games, fumble here and there, or bad snap or stuff like that. Like it could put you in a long situation. Definitely a game that I'm excited to see just because Josh Allen, like just watching him play in the snow is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Watching him be able to rifle freaking throws, like that's where you need a strong arm is when you're playing in colder weather, you need stronger arms. So I'm curious to see how he does. I think he does get a touchdown rushing. He may throw for a touchdown. I'm with you. I think 21-10 Bills win. Lower scoring game. Defensive kind of just keep everything in front of you. Don't let anything behind you. And then we have the Tampa Bay Bucks versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles are going to be without A.J. Brown, one of the best receivers in the NFL. They also have Devontae Smith coming off an ankle injury. Jalen Hurts broke his middle finger. Defense is all banged up. They have their starting safety, Sidney Brown. Well, their second starting safety, Sidney Brown, torn ACL. So on their third safety. Their team is very injured, but they're going up against a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team who has great receivers over there. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I think they're two phenomenal receivers. A good young running back, Rashad White. But they're going up against Baker Mayfield, and that's to me where I'm like, not too sure. What are your thoughts on that game?
Man, like I said, I mean, I think this is going to be a good game. This is going to be a good game. The Eagles have struggled recently, like struggled bad, and really during the whole year, like they were winning games but barely winning them, which sometimes you think like, okay, that's good for the morale. You guys can win close games, but it wasn't that type of feeling. It was just like they just weren't the same team. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I feel like they have a decent team, but again, Baker is Baker. What are you going to get from him? He's had a decent year. I mean, he just didn't suck this year, so I mean, I can't just rag on him. He had a decent year, but all in all, I think missing AJ Brown is going to be huge, and I don't know. I'm not too fond of the Eagles coaching staff and the offensive coordinator. Like the plays look different this year than they did last year. Like the rhythm of everything, they just look different. So I'm gonna go Buccaneers with an upset. I won't even call it an upset. I guess I gotta call it an upset. Buccaneers 24-21.
24. Damn. The two teams I was hoping the Niners played in the NFC Championship were the Cowboys and Eagles, and they both get knocked out in the first round.
Yeah.
It must suck to suck. That's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, all that shit they was talking, and they kept. I remember Michael Parsons saying, "Cry now, laugh later. We'll see you guys in the playoffs."
Nope.
Well, here we
Not
go.
this year.
Cancun on 3. Here we go. Cancun on 3. And then you got the Eagles fighting for their lives. It's kind of funny, like the shit they was talking, and the Niners were mad because we knocked out Brock Purdy, and I heard Hassan Reddick was like, if they had their quarterback, it'd be the same shit. We saw y'all in the regular season. Guess what happened? Packed y'all up. Y'all were pretty mad, and we were in Philly. You guys are about to have to come over here. It was gonna be worse.
Yes, exactly, 100%.
So for me, I'm excited. I kind of hope the Eagles win, just because I want to see them in the championship game. I want to see them. I want you guys to have to come to the Bay to get your guys' asses whooped. I want to see that. Like to me, where like I want that revenge. The get back is always better.
Always.
So for me, that's what I'm excited to see. Obviously, the NFL's playoff super wild card weekend ends today, and then we go to the divisional round. For everyone that is tuned in, we appreciate you guys today. Make sure you guys are subscribed and hit that like button on both channels, Clutch Gene Sports and Josh Harp TV. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button on both channels. You guys can find me on Instagram at Marco_Mart. You can find J Harp. I believe it's J Harp TV or J Harp the second, not J Harp the second on Twitter. You guys can follow us there on Twitter. Interact with us there. Any last comments for you, Josh?
Oh no, man. I'm just I hope these games are good. We only had a chance to watch one good game so far. So hopefully these last two are pretty good and we can enjoy this Martin Luther King Jr. holiday and eat some good food. For everybody who's off, I'm off work, so I'm gonna be chilling and watching these games that come on. I know NBA is on, but I don't know. NBA is kind of boring lately. So I'm gonna be watching these games that start at 1, and hopefully they're good, man. Hopefully they're good.
Absolutely. And I believe this is a question for you. I believe this is from your YouTube. Do you know Mike Hunt?
Mike, I know a Matt Hunt that I played football with. I'm not sure if I know Mike Hunt. I'm not sure.
So that's most likely going to be it today. Make sure you guys are all subscribed to the channel, both channels. Make sure you guys on next Monday, we'll be talking 49er football. Hopefully the 49ers are still in the playoffs. Hopefully they're in the NFC Championship game. And hopefully we're able to talk 49er football. We'll talk other games as well. Drafts coming up soon. NFL offseason coming up soon. I know Jay Harp, you don't get the joke, Mike Hunt. I don't get it.
I don't.
Over my head.
It's
over
it
my
went
head.
over mine too. Help me get it.
Yeah, help me. Yeah, you can help us get it. We'll stay on for a little bit so you can help us understand the joke, but over my head. But it's funny because my godfather, he's a big old Dallas Cowboys fan. And so I texted him, I was like, hey, when you hear "here we go," I was like, why do I hear it like Eeyore?
Yeah.
Like I hear it like hella sad, like here we go. And he's like, he texts me, he's like, oh, that's fucking, that's messed up, man. He's like, just think
That's
about
funny.
like if you think about it, like Eeyore saying it and like hearing Dak say it, it's even funnier. Like it's hella sad. They're going home. Man, that just sucks. That just sucks to be a Cowboys fan. Like if you're a Cowboys fan,
That's a Lions fan right there.
oh, it's the Lions fan.
Yeah.
He said, "Go Lions." Hey, we'll
Go
see y'all.
Lions.
Hopefully, we see y'all on NFC Championship, and you can come
Hopefully.
back and we could talk some talk and stuff like that. But that's it for today's show. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Thank you, Jay Harp, for joining. See y'all next week.
Mondays, baby.